Hey YouTube, today I am here to ask one simple question. Is this guitar for children? Seriously though, if you look at the history of the Duo Sonic, it was conceived of when Leo Fender was asked the question, can you make a beginner guitar? Can you make a student guitar? Something that is easier to learn on, easier to play, lighter, softer to the touch, all that sort of stuff. Can you do it? And of course Leo Fender, his gears start going, and what does he come up with? He comes up with the combination of the Music Master and the Duo Sonic. One or two pickups. Now this, what I hold in my hands, is a 2018 reissue, and this is the HS. It has the humbucker with the coil split. It is in a very unusual, this must have been a limited run for a music company or something, because they went with the candy apple red. You can find the HS with the transparent red, but this is a very unusual body color on this configuration, and it has that unique Art Deco tuxedo pickguard. So the question I want to ask today, what we're going to discuss in this video, is this truly a beginner guitar, as in a student guitar? Another way to put it, is it a toy or is it for big boys? Is this a legitimate instrument? Is this something that you could carry onto stage, that you could play an excellent solo on, that you could get cheers from the audience? Is this that kind of guitar, or is this the guitar that you play for grandma sitting on Christmas Eve night and you know you can just get out Oh Holy Night on it? What is it? Is this a toy or is this for big boys? So that's what we're going to look at in this video, so stay tuned for this discussion. So it's important to understand, what exactly do we mean by a toy guitar, right? You know, if you are in guitar forums and stuff, now I will say, generally speaking, I love the guitar enthusiast community, and I think that of the internet communities that I've been a part of variously over the years, it's one of the best. I find them, generally speaking, overwhelmingly positive and collaborative. There are, you know, there are jerks out there. There are jerks in every quarter of life, but percentage-wise, I think guitar enthusiasts are among my favorite folks out there. But anyway, you might find, like, a discussion, you know, is this just for kids? Is it only for beginners? Only for beginners. Yes, the line, the brand was designed as a beginner guitar, but what is it now, and is it really only for beginners? And so part of that inquiry starts with, what is a toy guitar? Right, what are we talking about when we're talking toy guitars? And so I have children. I have 3 of them. They keep me very busy. These are 2 toy guitars. Now, they are not toy guitars in the sense that these are actual instruments, okay? They're not, you know, the kind where you hit a button and it plays Mary Had a Little Lamb on it and a cow farts or something like this. These are both actual instruments, meant to be able to hold a tune that you can play. It has frets, it has all the essentials, but these are what I would understand as toy instruments, as in these are not instruments that you are going to grow on. These are purely designed to get you into playing guitar, to get you feeling as a child some of the fundamentals, so you can start to get things like muscle memory and just begin to navigate a guitar. That's what these are designed for. And these are both successful at doing that. I will say this Loog, okay, Loog is a specialty brand that is focused on these 3-string kid guitars, and I have had this darn thing for like years, and my kids destroy everything in their path. And this thing, and I mean, I'm not like, I just haven't hung it on the wall and the kids get to look at it and poke it from time. I mean, this thing is skittering under feet and is just, but I don't know by what dwarven technology they designed this thing, by what space age polymer it is made of, but it does not have any busts on it. Like, I don't know what they did to this guitar, but whatever they did, the legacy makers need to like call them and say, by what future have you returned with polymer recipes? Because this thing is darn near indestructible. And it still has the factory, it's got 2 nylon, and it's got this really, I mean, it's rusted. But not a thing has broken on this. The strings haven't broke. It hasn't come off. I mean, this thing is more rugged than any instrument I have ever put my hands on. In total honesty, I don't know how they did it. But you know, I'm not going to carry this on stage and play it. Like it's just a kid's guitar, right? It is, but it does what it's supposed to do, and that is, it has not immolated at the sight of my children, and it continues to exist, and it continues to be a playable little thing that the kids can get on it. And like my daughter gets on it and just hammers on it. She's 5, and so she doesn't know what she's doing at this point, but she says, I know how to play guitar. And then she gets on it and hammers on it, na 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 na, and then she sings. She has this, it's kind of like a violin, and she sings this little thing that she made up about guitars being kind of like violins. It does its job. It is a perfectly acceptable toy guitar. And actually, if you're thinking about one of these for your kids, I mean, maybe this is an outlier, but this thing has withstood a lot of abuse and continues to be going. Now, this is not, I'm not going to say as much about this one, but this is where you start to get a guitar that, I mean, it's got, put that Loog down. I could just toss it over my shoulder and I guarantee it'd be fine. This so-called LyxPro. I mean, Pro, come on. It's so often on the internet, whenever you say anything, it's like professional quality. It's like, if you have to say it. LyxPro, not pro at all. The only reason I have this is, again, I want to get my kids interested in guitar, and I'm not, at this point in their age range, going to trust them with anything I actually care about. But this thing I got for ridiculously cheap. I want to say maybe like 50 bucks on eBay or something. And I mean, it's junk in terms of it is not a good guitar in any sense of the term, but it is 6 strings. I can reasonably get it in tune. It's tiny, so my kids can play around with it and just play. Right? They're not really making music, but it does music things. It can be plugged in. It does have pickups. They're very low output. Everything's minimal and scratchy. It's not a guitar that I would recommend to anybody who is not a child, but for children, great, right? Just to get them started, just to get them going, right? To prime the pump, so to speak. So these are 2 examples of what we mean by toy guitars. So now let's consider the Duo Sonic and what we have with it, and ask the question, is it in this, you know, category, or is it something else? Now, an important consideration on the question of whether the Duo Sonic is just for students and beginners, if it is oriented towards children and teenagers and that sort of thing, or if it is a big boy guitar, can it be played by professionals and so forth. Part of it, we have to understand the evolution of the brand in terms of the model and so forth. And so initially these were designed with a 22.5, which is even shorter by another 1.5 inches, so it'd be about like right there. And so these were designed, again, Leo Fender was asked the question, can you make a student-oriented guitar? Something that people that are, you know, smaller, teenagers, people with small hands and so forth, that they could pick up, and it is still an actual instrument, right? It's not a complete toy. It's not like little Loog, you know, or whatever. It's still a real guitar. And so what he conceived of is the 22.5 scale. And initially you have the 1 pickup with the Music Master, then you have the Duo Sonic with the 2 pickups. And later this merges with the Mustang line, and so that's where it gets kind of hazy in terms of you have the 24-inch scale introduced into the lineup and the Mustang body, and they come more into alignment, but there's still distinctions. And you can go and look at the forums and all the, people ranting about the differences and so forth, but that's the origins, right? Now, it was discontinued in 1969. The Stratocaster by that point was really taking off, and the Mustang was doing really well, so it pretty much pushed the Duo Sonic out of the line. Now, the Music Master continued on as the, like, true student single pickup, entry level all the way into the 80s, but the Duo Sonic was dropped. Now it's come back in 2 reissues, so why has it been reissued? Why hasn't it just been forgotten with other lost models that have just, fallen out of popularity? Well, there was a sort of cult following that came out around these. Jimi Hendrix even played one of these early on in his career until he became solely associated, or primarily associated, with the Stratocaster. And so the Duo Sonic, and particularly in indie rock and so forth, these 24-inch scales were very sought after, and it can make very mellow, very chill music. It can also really adapt itself to blues by doing very, very deep, sweet, creamy bends and that sort of thing. And so it has its perks. And so it received this kind of cult following as a result. And so that's why in the 90s they reissued it. And then again, this is the 20-teens reissue. This is a 2018. I believe they made them 2016 to 2019. So again, it was a reissue. Why do a reissue? Because it is a sought-after instrument. In fact, if you go find one of the originals of these, they sell for many thousands of dollars, typically, for one in good condition, right? And so they are very sought after. That's why you do reissues. There's this model, it hasn't been in production, and so they go back, they take the vintage specs, and then they modernize it. And so you have like the modern C-shaped neck and so forth on this. The modern capability of the coil tap, very cool feature on this, right? And so this is again, a reissue is homaging the original guitars while also bringing them into the modern age. And this nails it. Absolutely. I mean, I've been top to bottom on this guitar. I have not been into the electronics yet. The seller just put a fresh set of strings on it and did a very good job of doing that. Bent them just the same way I do and everything. I'm like, I like the cut of this guy's jib, but so I haven't been into the electronics yet because I haven't taken the strings off, but everything that I've looked at has been impeccable. And that's number one why this is not a toy guitar, is because the craftsmanship is simply of the highest quality. I know, okay, the Mexican hate, Fender only American. I mean, okay. I get it. The American, I'm not saying this is equivalent to an American Ultra or something, but I'm saying for what this is, the way that this is designed, you could not build this better. It is absolutely perfect. I mean, this is one of the just finest crafted. Now, the frets, I've said before, the frets could have used more polishing. That's time. That's just time. Absolutely, craftsmanship wise, this thing is immaculate. It is like every inch of it is perfectly buffed. Everything, I mean, it's just, so it is a very, very high level instrument in terms of quality. The materials, this is alder wood. This is not some, cheap nothing and the ply. I mean, this is a very nice cut. It's very well balanced, because you can get, cheaper guitars. Check out my Indio review where I compare it to a Squier. That Indio Deluxe Plus offset, it has an alder body, so presumably it's the same, right? Well, just because it's the same kind of tree doesn't mean that the wood is equivalent. And that's why you sometimes see these budget brands and they're like, how did they take a $200 guitar and put alder in it? Because they took all the pieces that the big manufacturers wouldn't use. They're not balanced right, the grain is funky, there's something that it gets chucked in the pile, and then they sell it for scrap to Indio, and then they make guitars out of it at mono price. So this, however, this is a finely crafted body. This thing, it's simple. It doesn't have extensive contouring or anything, but the edge is contoured absolutely perfectly all the way around. It is a very, very gentle, smooth contoured body edge. So it doesn't have cuts, but boy, that contour, woo, it's smooth. It's smooth on body. I don't feel like I need that extra cutaway right here because this is so smooth. It's so comfortable to put my, I mean, this thing is really nice. So craftsmanship, quality of materials, and the playability, and that's where it really begins to shine and actually start to, like, in some respects, outcompete its better known brethren, because that 24-inch scale, now, okay, again, this is not a toy guitar, right? This is not one of those little things that we looked at earlier. This is a real guitar, and a 24-inch scale is a real scale. You know, folks might make a big deal of it being, oh, for, you know, lady hands or something, but the reality is it's only 3/4 of an inch off from a Gibson scale. So come on, guys, this is basically just saying we're going to do like Gibson, but make it even a little shorter, a little bit easier. And I'm sure there was a lot of time and research that they put into where's like the lowest point, because the 22.5 gets to the point where you start to get some rattle on the low end with your heavier strings. You cannot do any kind of drop tuning or anything. In fact, the best way to go to an even lower scale is to tune up. But that's another story for another day. The 24-inch scale is a full guitar scale. It works perfectly. It holds tune. You don't get the rattly low E string and so forth. It plays so well, and it sounds great, and it just plays like butter. I mean, the thing, this has got such a nice neck on it. Oh, this neck, I mean, you're just, you know, unless you're getting into the ultra level stuff, you're not going to find anything else, especially at this price point. I mean, this is a very, very nicely crafted instrument. This neck is absolutely like silk on my hand. There's no unevenness, right? It just slides, and fretboard is just beautiful. The frets, again, the polishing could be a little better, but the frets themselves are very well placed. I see absolutely no gaps under the frets and so forth. So playability wise, this is not only equivalent to its better known brethren, but I'd say better just in the sense that, especially if you want to do bends and that sort of thing, and it also makes really, really easy rhythm work. And it's still got plenty of low end, absolutely plenty of low end, especially you mix that humbucker in there and you got plenty of power. You got plenty of snap. It's got high end, it's got low end. You can make it powerful. It carries distortion fine. I mean, the pickups are perfectly designed for this instrument, perfectly designed. And you get that coil tap, so if you want that real twangy, like super old school country edge, you can give it a single on the bottom and just, you know, go to town on it. Spread those strings. Get that twang, right? This thing is excellent. It plays almost, I mean, effortless is like obvious hyperbole, but it plays so easy that you find yourself noodling and you're just running your fingers around and you're like, man, it's just like dancing in a field or something. It's just so easy. It's so pleasant to play. So on every level that we've looked at, this distinguishes itself. Not only that it's not a toy guitar, but this would be like the ultimate first guitar. If you could afford one of these, if your family's, you know, got more bling than mine does, and you could afford one of these as a starter, right, as an entry level, woo, like this thing would service you. It could service you all the way through a professional career. I'm not being hyperbolic. I am so impressed with this guitar and the range of tones that it gives, how easily it plays. It's excellent. For what it is designed to do, this is perfection, right? I mean, it is as good as it gets. It is gorgeous to boot. It's got, I mean, this body is just so nicely finished. It's the neck and it, I mean, it's got it all, right? So, final thoughts on this Duo Sonic. Is it only for the noobs? Is it only for the childrens? No, this is like professional quality guitar at a intermediate price, truly and honestly. And I'm not sponsored by anybody. Not that I won't take your money. I'm not sponsored by anybody. I bought this on Reverb from a very nice gentleman, and because I saw it had all these features, I was like, ooh, that's a unicorn right there. I'm gonna put that in my stable. And my wonderful wife is like, yeah, another investment, you know. So I snagged it while I could, but this is like truly a professional quality instrument. And so its association with being designed as a purely student guitar, the reissue is there for a reason. And what they're doing is homaging those very expensive instruments of the past, but bringing modern machining and design and tech and so forth into the mix to modernize a vintage classic design that I think is, you know, the more time I spend with it, the more I think this is a fantastic instrument. It is definitely one of the easiest to play in my entire collection. I mean, I've got a range of instruments from the cheapest telecaster, glary, check out my review, dumpster fire junk, all the way up to my pristine mint signature G&L S500, still has the pickguard, you know, plastic on it. So I've got a range of instruments, and I would put this easily in the top 5 for most playable, just easiest to play. This thing is fantastic, and it does not lack the features of a professional guitar. Especially having that coil tap brings it into another level where you're not dealing with a just student noob guitar. Like this is a pro guitar if you're willing to, you know, give it a try. So overall, I love this guitar, and if you're considering getting one of these, I highly recommend it. They're limited runs, so that what's out there is out there. And it's still, this tells you that that a model is probably in the long term going to accumulate, value, and that is that there's always a dip point where you go from new to used, right? But how big is that dip point? And especially after the new ones dry up, what happens to that? And if you look out there, this is selling for used close to what they were new. And there's one, as of the making of this video, there's one still new in the box on Amazon for like $900. So that's like the lone survivor that somehow made it through these last few years, last 5 years or whatever. But these are, you know, going to be more and more rare as people pick them up and add them to long-term collections. And so if you're considering getting one of these, I can't speak as much to the SS, the 2 single coil, but I love this humbucker system. The coils, it just, but I'm sure the SS is also really nice. So overall, I think this is truly, I mean, it is in that under 1,000. It's like between the 5 to 1,000, that intermediate range. But man, this is a professional quality instrument that will stand right alongside anything you put it next to, and is just so enjoyable to play, effortlessly playable. So I highly recommend. As always, if you've enjoyed this, if you enjoy my content, please like and subscribe. We're almost halfway to our threshold of 500 subscribers, so very excited with every new subscriber. I'm just so thankful. So, just thank you for your views and likes, and I'd love to hear back from you. I love the community that builds up around these discussions. So like, subscribe, comment, and you'll have a wonderful day.